Singapore may need more aggressive property cooling measures. Barclays. They are saying that the recent resurgence in the private market driven by blockbuster November has raised the likelihood of a revival in property prices and a repeat of 2017-19 when buyers shrugged off cooling measures. They are saying that with the central bank's easing of domestic lending rates has also boosted the sentiments in the private market, the government will remain vigilant to market developments. Personally, as an agent, I also feel that the market is a bit heated at this moment, but it's also largely due to 4 push factors of the market. Number 1, which is the interest rate dropping. With interest rate dropping, it means that the affordability goes up, especially for the resales as well. Because why? Before that, when the interest rates were high, people buying resales would actually think twice because immediately they are hit with higher installments. But now with the interest rates coming down, it also means that the monthly installment would have reduced a little bit. So with that in mind, it has also eased off a bit of stress off the buyers and the resale demand would then come. With the resale demand coming in, it also means more sellers are able to change hands and move on in terms of their property progression. Now, the second push factor is the stress test dropping. Recently, if you check out OCBC and UOB, based on my current information, they have dropped their stress test from 4.75% to 4%. And if you key this into a calculator, based on a 30-year-old with a 10k income drawn, the difference between these two stress tests gives him additional excess of 100 to 150k in terms of loan quantum. And this also means that more people are able to afford to buy, and that also means higher demand. Third is the GFA harmonization. With the rising prices in Singapore, URA's vision is always to focus on sustainable living, comfortable dwelling, in order to ensure that the consumers pay for their bang for buck. With the GFA harmonization, now the AC latch is no longer considered part of the strata area of a particular unit. This also means that the area, the general size of the unit, would drop a little bit. The PSF may go up, but the quantum is kept in check. And you know, when it comes to affordability and loan assessment, the banks only look at quantum as well. So with that in mind, that again price more people in again, and that's why you see this demand happening in the market. The fourth point, supply pipeline. If you look at 2025, just in the OCR region, the mass market region, there are only 5 new launches coming out for the first half of 2025, 2 of which are actually ECs, meaning to say there's only 3 private launches. And if you actually count back 3 years ago, 2025 minus 3 years or 4 years is actually 2021 and 22. Why am I counting that for you? Is also because that is the COVID situation where the government wasn't able to sell lands due to manpower issues, and that is the main reason why we are facing a slight shortage of new launches coming out in 2025, because we only started actively selling lands in the first half of 2023 onwards until today. And all these lands, after they sell, they need 1 to 1.5 years before it can be launched due to certain government policies and the developers needing to start building on the foundation first before they can start selling the project. And that's why you face this little bit of supply crunch in terms of the new launch. And that is the main reason why the current consumers who are assessing the current situation right now, if they don't choose something right now, they have no more choices or very limited choices moving forward. So now, coming back to the newspaper article about cooling measures, I also think that there might be a huge cooling measure coming along the way. So here I have a slide that depicts the last few cooling measures that have happened. Number 1, the most recent one being the additional buyer stamp duty, which raised it all the way up to 60% to control the demand from foreigners and multiple property owners. This was last done in 27 April 2023. Previously, we had the buyer stamp duty, a tiered increase that was adjusted in 14 February 2023. Next, we had the total debt servicing ratio to tighten the liquidity and control the demand a little bit, which was the last change was in October 2022, where they changed the way loans were assessed. Previously, it was based on 60% of your income. Now it's based on 55% of your income for your loan assessment. All this is to ensure that no over leveraging happens and to create that very safe environment for Singapore property. But do you realize that one thing hasn't changed since 2018 July, which is the loan to value? That was the last time where the loan to value changed from 80% down to 75%, so that it tightens a little bit more liquidity and locks in a little bit more capital for Singaporeans. Actually, with this pattern observed, I probably think that the next move by the government would likely actually be the loan to value. So if you have actually seen my recent videos regarding the affordability check, alright, you will realize that this graph itself actually shows the income versus the property prices, which also depicts and illustrates the affordability among Singaporeans. Alright, this is an important chart to take note of because this is showing how the cooling measures have affected the property prices, and most importantly, ensuring that the income aligns with our property prices. So if you see, based on this chart itself, the red line is actually the nominal GDP, which represents our income, the blue line is the property prices. If you see before the year 2008, you will see that the red line is actually far below the property prices, alright, which is the blue line. And after that, once it gets into 2008 onwards, you will see the two lines intersecting, indicating that the affordability are having issues again. In 2010 to 2014, cooling measures were actually introduced, and you start to see the blue line adjusting downwards a little bit, and slowly the income takes over and surpasses our property prices. The positive gap between our income versus our property prices have since widened, and today it has widened by a lot, as you can see from this chart itself. So why am I telling you this? Is because the cooling measures are here to keep the real estate market in Singapore sustainable. And with this in mind, I honestly feel that if the government was to try to want to cool the market a little bit, they will probably go for the loan to value, given that you can see from this chart itself, the affordability of Singaporeans is very, very high. So they might actually want to cool the market a little bit to reduce the demand a little bit. So in order for this cooling measure to happen, there are many telltale signs happening in the market as we speak, and maybe that's why this newspaper article may serve as a signal or indicator for many consumers out there. So here I have another graph down here that shows you one more pattern. You will realize one more pattern. Before every cooling measure, there should be an oversupply. Right? Many people have the wrong impression, or many people have the misconception that cooling measures are here to drop prices. Maybe back then in 2014, where the property prices were too heated back then, yes, there was an adjustment downwards. But ever since then, do you realize that despite all the cooling measures were in place, our property prices still go back up? So I want to show you this chart down here to observe one crucial pattern. Before every cooling measure happens, there should be an oversupply. Before the 2014 cooling measure happened, there was 100,000 units coming into the market, and that is what caused the prices to adjust downwards a little bit. Coupled with the major cooling measures that were first introduced into Singapore's market, it really cooled the prices and buffered the market. You will realize once the 100k clears off at this point in 2017, despite all the cooling measures such as ABSD, TDSR, so on and so forth, prices shoot back up, needing a new set of cooling measures in 2018. Now, before the introduction of the 2018 cooling measure, there was actually an oversupply of 70 en blocs, which equates to about 70,000 units. The same thing, you can see how influential the demand and supply factors are. The minute this 70,000 more or less clears in 2020 Q3, prices shoot back up, needing a new set of cooling measure in December 2021, which happens to coincide with the COVID situation. But the issue is this: where is the oversupply in 2021, 2022, and even in 2023? Because of the manpower issues back then, land sales couldn't happen. And the thing is this, that's why you keep seeing the prices go up despite all the cooling measures in place. Can we see how oversupply is actually the most effective cooling measure? The key thing to note is this: where is our oversupply in 2021, where we only had 5,000 units introducing into the market, 2022, where we only had another 5,000 units introducing in the market due to the lack of land sales, followed by 2023, where we have 11,000 units, and 2024, the recent numbers, 11,000+ units being introduced into the market. You will realize that there is not much changes in the supply. With that in mind, based on the pattern that we just observed, with the ramping up of supply in 2023 first half and second half, followed by 2024 first half and second half land sales, the 2025 first half land sales has also been announced. This is a very, very strong telltale indicator that a cooling measure might really just be around the corner. So if you would like more of these personal insights as well as analysis, like and share and comment and subscribe to this channel so that I can continue being motivated to do up more of this analysis for all of you, my audiences out there.